Hi there, this is Hillbilly Storytime, Pentest Fails with me, Adam Compton. This will be our first video of the 2018 year. And today's just going to be a little bit of a summary, maybe a little bit of a recap. We'll see what it turns out to be. But yeah, so over the past year, I guess it was about a year ago, that I decided I was going to be doing these pen test videos. And it's turned out pretty well. At the time, I'd said that I was going to do it for a year and see how everything goes and see if I want to keep doing it after that. Well, I first set out to do it about every 2 weeks, and I more or less stuck to that. Yeah, I slipped here and there as the year went on. It got worse. And but overall, I think I did fairly good for somebody who's never done these kind of videos. And that's one of my first things I was going to say here as a personal fail for myself for the year is I didn't set my expectations quite accurately for myself. I thought this would be a lot easier than it was. I wanted to do something to share this with the industry, and I think it has worked fairly well. I've got a lot of reasonable feedback from this. I've done talks at conferences and everything as well, and people seem to enjoy this. Unfortunately, I didn't expect how much time it takes to do these kind of videos. I thought it would just be get a camera, sit down, record, which for the most part it is, but for somebody who has a family at home, who has work that I have to travel for, stuff like that, stuff I have to do during the day for work or around the house, on the farm, stuff like that, it just seems to take a little more time than I originally anticipated. And then, of course, you have all the changes that happened to the videos. When I first started out, beginning of the year last year, I was doing the animations and all that, and that was very nice. I enjoyed that. It's just that actually took way more time than actually doing the video and prep and all that goes along with it. And as time went on, that got more and more left behind. I also had like a little notebook that I'd write everything down in that I would read from, or at least use it as notes and all that. It was part of a prop sort of thing, if you will, for the videos. And I'd say maybe 5 or 6 episodes in, and that kind of got left behind just because I didn't have time to write everything down, maintain it in that notebook and everything. I do want to go back and finish filling all that out at some point. Just haven't had the chance to. I mean, just things like that. It's just I didn't set my expectations, but I did not set my expectations properly to myself, and as a result, I think I did an okay series with the videos. I just wish I could have done a lot better, and that's one thing I'm going to be working on this next year and then onward. I am going to be continuing these video series, but I'm not going to be shooting for every 2 weeks. I'm going to be shooting for once a month. I'm actually going to be releasing a blog post here in the next several days going over what I'm planning on doing for the year. Please stay tuned for that. And I'm going to be doing a few other items other than just doing this video series. So please stay tuned and see what's coming up. And I think it's going to be very entertaining, very fun for me for this year. And it's getting into another little bit of an area that I hadn't gotten into before, or not as heavy as I'm planning on doing. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But so that's a little bit of a fail on my own part for the last year, and something I'm going to work on to try to do better. So I am thinning out the number of videos I'm going to be doing for Pentest Fails to just one a month, and be able to dedicate a little more time to it and what have you there. So that should work out a little better. I will continue to still have some guest appearances on here as time allows. Yeah, I mean, some people like those, some people didn't. I find it interesting to hear other people's stories from themselves to see how that is. But if by chance you happen to have a story you want to share and you don't feel like being on video, please just let me know and share the story with me, and then I can retell it as it is, using different names and what have you as necessary. But so over the past year, I've done, I don't know, I think close to 20 videos, and of those, there's a lot of common themes that have come through there that I just like to hit on real quick here before we call it an end of the video. One of them is, as well, it's not being prepared. It's not having all the stuff ready for an engagement, not having your tools installed, not having your laptop updated, not having just general preparation done for your customer. This could be for doing an on-site engagement where you don't have all the tools you need to do it. It could be for a social engineering engagement where you wait up to the very last minute to do your OSINT, to do your data gathering, stuff like that. You just don't have that done. It could take the form of many different scenarios there that you just didn't get your preparation done in time. You didn't do it, or whatever the case is. And that's one of the areas that, as a rule, I try to work on myself, because I know I fall into that category as well at times, is whenever I find out that I have an engagement coming up, I try to go ahead and start doing some prep work for it. If it's a social engineering exercise, I'll go ahead and start doing some OSINT on the side just to make sure I've got enough ready for when the engagement starts, I can hit the ground running. If it's going to be a physical assessment, I go ahead and start working on a pretext, a story, something like that. I start getting my tools together, Dropbox and stuff like that. And I go ahead and have that prepped. I usually start about a week to 2 weeks in advance if I have enough time to know about it, to go ahead and start building this stuff together. Now, do I always get the chance to do that? No, not always. But I usually try to. If I'm going to be doing an on-site engagement, something like that, the week prior, I will make sure that I go in and update all my software, update all my tools where appropriate, do stuff like that, make sure I have my bag ready to go with Ethernet cables and power supplies and USB hubs and network hubs and stuff like that. And then I would go ahead and have that set aside so that I try to be as prepared as possible. Well, that's one area that sort of seemed to come up a lot in our little talks. Another one was not validating information, not making sure that things are confirmed or what have you. That took the form of customer provides you an IP list and you don't confirm that IP list to ensure that the customer owns that IP list or owns all those IPs. You don't double check with the customer that they didn't make a typo. Another scenario is where you don't confirm stuff is on social engineering exercises, and you have your get out of jail free card. This is a kind of funny story in general, the one that this came from that I'm thinking of. And you don't confirm that the people that are on that list, on that call list, are actually going to be at their desk if and when they need to be called. In one of the stories, there was an individual which needed to have their point of contacts called, and there's 2 or 3 of them on the list, and none of them were at their desk, none of them were answering their calls, and it resulted in with a little incident with a police officer as a result, and things like that. That's just making sure things aren't prepared properly. And going along with that one and the first one, both a little bit, is not being prepared, not double checking, validating things, is the scenario where there's a disagreement between what the customers want you to do and what the pen tester assumes is going to be done. Sometimes the customer will mention something or assume something was mentioned or conveyed in such a way that the pen tester's like didn't know about it, or they're going strictly off of the notes that somebody else gave them because they weren't able to be on the kickoff call, something like that. So they're making assumptions about what the engagement is supposed to be. And as a result, sometimes things go awry at the end of the day, end of the week, end of the engagement. The customer's like, well, great, you're finished. So did you find anything on this particular network, or how did this one particular type of testing go that I'd asked for? And the pen tester was like, oh, yeah, I didn't test that, or I didn't look at that. And it was just a miscommunication in there. It wasn't conveyed properly. It's just little things like that. It's always better just to not make assumptions, and always, if you have a question about anything, go and double check it with the customer. So those are just some of the highlights of the types of findings and kind of failures that or kind of issues that resulted in failures in the stories from last year. I do plan on doing more of these stories as we go along, and there may be similarities to some of the ones we've done before because people tend to make the same kinds of mistakes. They'll probably be in different scenarios or packaged a little differently. But yeah, just stick around, and I hope to put out about 11 to 12 of these videos this year talking about Pentest fails. Some of these will be a little longer, shorter, maybe have some guest appearances. So yeah, I've enjoyed doing these. I hope to improve the quality of these over the next year here. And as always, thank you for your time for listening to me here, and hope you have a great day. Thank you.